What's up guys, Eli here, back for another CD collection video. It has actually been a couple of months since I've done one of these, which is crazy, for, reasons, moving and stuff like that. It's kind of a special one today. We're talking about Iron Maiden. This is going to be an all Iron Maiden video. In fact, it might be a two-parter. And I'm kind of cheating. I'm breaking the mold a little bit. I decided just to show my entire Iron Maiden collection while I'm at it, just all at once. I only have a little bit of Iron Maiden vinyl, so it's not that strange. And I have shown them in videos before, in vinyl videos, so I apologize if some of this is stuff you've already seen. I feel like just throwing all my Iron Maiden stuff in one video. So we're gonna go through the stuff that I have, like I do in all my CD collection videos, and I'm also gonna do an album ranking, the entire discography of Iron Maiden. I'm gonna rank them. I'll do that at the end. Anyways, yeah, let's get going. Up the irons, guys. I'd feel kind of like a dork if I tried to talk about the history of Iron Maiden, because I think, 99% of you guys already know. But who knows? Every now and then I do get a younger metalhead viewer that might not know all the stuff that we know. So Iron Maiden started as early as around 1975 by the living legend himself, Steve Harris. They came out of course, England during that new wave of British heavy metal movement that was going on. Started in the kind of tail end of the 70s into the early 80s. Iron Maiden are by far the most popular band to come out of that scene. They've sold millions and millions of records. They are legendary. To this day, they are still popular, which I think is kind of crazy, but kind of awesome. I've always given Iron Maiden credit for not just being one of the best and most important heavy metal bands in history, but they stuck to their guns. They never sold out. They never tried to, shift into different genres to try and stay relevant, kind of like Judas Priest did. Sorry guys, I love Priest, but they did that a number of times. Iron Maiden always stayed true to themselves, true to their fans. They stayed just playing traditional heavy metal. Sure, you could argue, on some albums, they have some kind of hard rock type songs. Whatever. I don't think that's really a big deal. To me, every album Maiden has done is a heavy metal album. Let's get started and get into what I have. I don't have everything Maiden have done. They have a ton of live albums, and to be honest, I'm missing a couple studio albums too. Oddly enough, as long as I've been listening to them, it's kind of strange. From 1980, we have the debut self-titled Iron Maiden. So on this album, you had Dennis Stratton on guitar. Not one of the guitarists that Maiden is known for having, but he was, he was in the band for a little bit. You had Steve Harris, of course, on bass, Paul Di'Anno on vocals, Dave Murray on guitar, and Clive Burr on drums. So I have here let's see, this is a 1998 repress, not an original pressing. Although I do have an original pressing somewhere. Not that it matters. The first two Iron Maiden albums obviously are known for being a little bit different from what they would do later on. You had the vocals of Paul Di'Anno. He was kind of he kind of had a little punkiness to his style. I think he's an underrated singer too. I think he's great. He's got decent range. I don't think he always showed it in Iron Maiden, and I don't think he's always been one to really show off his range, but I think he's got better range than a lot of people realize, and his voice has actually aged pretty well. He sounds pretty decent to this day. Some people, preferred him to be the singer of Iron Maiden. Some people prefer it to be Bruce Dickinson. I think he's a little bit of an underrated vocalist. I think he's great. This is a strong start. It's not one of my favorite Iron Maiden albums, but it is a great album. I mean, you got songs like, my personal favorite probably would be Remember Tomorrow. Just an amazing song. I would also go for Charlotte the Harlot's a cool one. Phantom of the Opera, Running Free. I mean, there's definitely no duds on this album. It's a great album. Just not one of my favorites, but I still love returning to it from time to time. From that same year, I also have this Sanctuary repress 7-inch. Iron Maiden did a lot of 7-inch singles in the 80s. So this is a cool one. As you can see, I haven't even opened the goddamn thing yet. I bought it like 10 years ago. So anyways, the A-side being Sanctuary. The B-side, this actually has 3 songs. It's got a live version of Drifter, and it's got I've Got the Fire, which is a Montrose cover. Montrose, that old band with Sammy Hagar. I've never really listened to much Montrose. I don't think it's really my thing, but it's a cool cover, and yeah, it's a nice little single to have in your collection. From 1981, of course, you have the second full-length album, Killers. I think this is actually one of the best Iron Maiden albums. As much as I do like the first one, I think Killers was an improvement on pretty much most levels. I just think this album's fantastic. You still had Di'Anno. This would be the last time you hear him in Iron Maiden. This is the first album to have guitarist Adrian Smith, who would be in the band for a long time. He'd come and go. I think just once. He left at one point, and he's been back for over 20 years now. But he's kind of a fan favorite guitarist. A lot of people will name him as their favorite Maiden guitarist. I personally would go for Dave Murray, but I mean, there's no debating Adrian Smith's skills on the guitar for sure. I also have a copy on vinyl. Like I said, I'm just going to show it for the hell of it, because I mean, is there anything better looking than a Iron Maiden album art on a vinyl record? I mean, it just so amazing. From Killers, I have a couple 7-inch singles. Again, these are represses from 10, 12 years back, something like that. So this is the Twilight Zone Wrathchild single. It's got Twilight Zone, which is a song that did not make it onto the Killers album, so that's pretty cool. And it's got Wrathchild, that probably one of my favorite Di'Anno era Maiden songs, which would be on the Killers album. Then from that same year, you have the Purgatory 7-inch single with Genghis Khan and Purgatory, both songs that made it onto Killers. So there's no unreleased stuff here, but it's still cool. I mean, who would not buy that? 1982, we have Number of the Beast. Now, this would be kind of a famous album for being the first to feature Bruce Dickinson on vocals. He came from a band called Samson, who are decent in their own right, but they're no Iron Maiden. This album I like a lot. It isn't maybe one of my favorite Iron Maiden albums, but it is still amazing, and it's got a lot of classics on here. I mean, it's got Number of the Beast, the title track, of course. Run to the Hills, one of their most popular and most played songs. And then it's got Hallowed Be Thy Name, one of their most famous songs, one of the most popular songs, and honestly, probably one of their best. It's just a great, epic song. Number of the Beast, great album. From 1983, we got their fourth album, Peace of Mind. This would be the first album to see Nico McBrain on drums, who would be their drummer ever since. He has never left the band. This is one of my favorite Maiden albums. This is, most Iron Maiden fans, this is easily going to be in their top 5, if not their top 3. It's a great album. Of course, at one point this was my favorite Iron Maiden album. Spoiler alert, it's not my favorite to this day, but it's still amazing. Where Eagles Dare, Flight of Icarus, and then it's got The Trooper, which is one of their most popular and one of their most well-known songs. And it's got some cool deep cuts though, like Sun and Steel and To Tame a Land. Revelations is pretty cool. There's parts of that song that I don't like, but then there's parts of it that I really, really like. Definitely a classic album, definitely one of the best. I don't like it as much as I did at one point. I don't want anyone jumping on me. It's an amazing album. I'm not debating that, but it with time, it hasn't aged with me as well as I would have thought it would. But you'll see where it ranks pretty soon here. From 1984, album number 5, Powerslave. This, oh my god, this album is amazing. I'm just going to say, this is one of the best heavy metal albums in history. This is so goddamn good. I was actually listening to this today. I hadn't listened to it in a pretty long time, actually, and I intended to try and pick it apart. I intended to all right, Eli, pay more attention today than you ever have to this album. Try to find some filler, try to find some flaws. I couldn't find any. This is a literal 10 out of 10 album. It's flawless, and it's probably a top 10 heavy metal album just of all time in general. And I have the Aces High 7-inch single. It's got Aces High as an A side, and on B side, this is interesting, it's got King of Twilight, which was a Nectar song. Nectar, the very popular German prog band. Steve Harris was and is a really, really big fan of prog. And I don't think there's any secrets. It does show in their music, depending on the album, a little more than others, but absolutely. From 1985, I have I believe this is their first live album, pretty sure. Live After Death. Obviously, that's not what the cover's supposed to look like. I've had this so long, obviously. Yeah, my cover fell apart. Looks like that, though. Now, this is a cool live album. It is considered by a lot of people to be one of the best, live albums in heavy metal history. I personally, I don't know, dude. I like it. I don't think it's as great as some people might think. From what I've read, they were deep into this tour. It was a long tour. These guys were fucking exhausted, and I think they sound tired, especially Bruce. I mean, he just sounds like he needs a nap or a vacation. He sounds a little bit wore out. I think they should have maybe. I don't know the history exactly. I think maybe they should have recorded it maybe earlier on in the tour, instead of at the kind of tail end. So I don't know, I have mixed feelings about this album. It's, like I said, it's a classic album, classic live heavy metal album. No one's really debating that too much, but I don't know. It's not exactly the best representation of what Iron Maiden can bring live, if you ask me. How do you guys feel? I don't want to use the word overrated. I don't want to attach that word to Iron Maiden in any way. But this kind of might be a little bit overrated as a live album. I don't know. Tell me, what do you guys think? From 1986, we have album number 6, Somewhere in Time. Another just absolute classic Iron Maiden album. They had a run of, their first, I think 5, 6, you could even maybe say their first 7 albums were just near flawless, which, not many bands can really say that. This is definitely one of my favorite Iron Maiden albums. It's definitely a fan favorite. It's got songs that, are, pretty popular, that were in their live set for years. Like Wasted Years, Stranger in a Strange Land. You got deep cuts like Deja Vu, Alexander the Great, Heaven Can Wait, The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. Some really cool deep cuts here. And I know I haven't been saying, a lot of my Iron Maiden albums are these 1998 represses. For some reason, I only have the slipcase for this one. But yeah, Sanctuary Records did a really nice job with these. Really, really nice job. Yeah, this is just another one of those albums, one of those Maiden albums where it's a top 5 for probably 99% of Maiden fans. I also have it on vinyl. The inspiration for this cover, in case you didn't know and in case you couldn't tell, was the movie Blade Runner. I think it's pretty clear. It's so cool to have Maiden albums on vinyl. Out of all bands that have ever existed, Maiden are the band that you need to collect on vinyl for obvious reasons. Derek Riggs, just amazing cover art. And from that same album, I have The Stranger in a Strange Land 7-inch single. It's got Stranger in a Strange Land, obviously, for the A side. For the B side, you get a song called That Girl, which was a cover from a band called FM. I think I've heard FM. I'm not actually sure. From 1988, you have the seventh album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Now, this album is kind of divisive with fans. The diehard Iron Maiden fans seem to either love this album, or I wouldn't say they hate it, but they seem to love it, or they think it's, kind of unnecessary, maybe kind of fillerish. It's not one of their favorites. It'd been a long time since I'd listened to it, and I listened to it today, and I gotta say, man, I like this album more now, I think, than I ever have. I mean, a lot of people call this Iron Maiden's prog album. I would actually disagree with that. People tend to say that because it has keyboards. This is the first Iron Maiden album, actually the only Iron Maiden album to have like a strong keyboard presence. There's a lot of keys on this. I don't think it's overbearing or overdone by any means. I'm a fan of keyboards in music, so naturally I'm going to kind of gravitate towards that. And another reason why I say it's not a super proggy album like people would say that it is. First of all, just having keyboards in your music does not automatically make you a prog band. Like I said earlier, Steve Harris loves prog. I think the keyboards here give it more of a like Conan the Barbarian epic atmosphere, more epic heavy metal, not so proggy. It is also in spots. This is kind of melodic. It's their most melodic album to date, with songs like Can I Play with Madness, The Evil That Men Do, stuff like that. But yeah, man, I just love this album. The first track, Moonchild, I think is one of the best Iron Maiden songs, hand down. Very underrated. To the naysayers, I say give this album more time, maybe. I mean, it's been out for, 30 plus years. I'm sure you've given it time, but I don't know, dude. Give it another listen. Try to listen to it with a more open mind. I think this album is much better than some people say it is. Though it's a fan favorite in some cases, but like I said, fans are kind of divisive on this one. But it's great. From that same album, I have The Evil That Men Do, 7-inch single. It's got The Evil That Men Do as an A-side. As a B-side, they have Prowler. It's called Prowler 88. Prowler was I think the first song on the first Iron Maiden album, so this is done with Bruce Dickinson on vocals instead of Paul Di'Anno, and it sounds pretty cool. From 1990, album number 8, No Prayer for the Dying. This was the first album to feature guitarist Yannick Gers, who would replace